KWTN 100.9 FM, DJ Guaranteed in the studio with DJ Besme, and we have a surprise special guest here for the Big Voice Radio. We'd like to introduce and probably have him do his own introduction, but none other than Mr. Rodney Grant. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Awesome.
So I know that Rodney here is in town, kind of visiting the relatives and stuff. What brings you to Winnebago? What brings you to Nebraska?
This is my home.
Mm-hmm.
This has always been my home. It will always be my home, no matter what. And no matter where I go in the world, in the United States, and I used to always say, if I get within 8 hours of drive of home, I'm coming home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I live in Fresno, California right now. It's 100 degrees out there. We had such bad weather this year, but I've been out there for 28 years. Before that, I lived in Albuquerque, lived in different states here and there. You know, I miss my people here, my home. Basically, I come back. When I come back, I look around at different things and looking how we could improve our lives. You know, because I've made a life for myself. You know, out there in the white world, and I've done really well. And so I'd like to bring that back and share that with people of how to improve your life, how you can do whatever it is that you want to do that will give you a independence, you know, of the government funds that we are growing up on. Mm-hmm. So I try to do that. I try to help other people. I will give them suggestions. I will give them ideas. I will not take them by the hand and lead them around. That's not what I do. That's not helping. That's hurting.
Mm.
You know. So I tell them where to go, how to do it. Now you go. You know.
Yeah.
And basically how it should be. So.
For those that I think you're pretty famous. You know, you got your accolades of acting in Hollywood, and could you tell us kind of like how you got started in that, and maybe just kind of give us the background. You grew up around here, and then just how did you get your break in Hollywood?
We did a PBS documentary, Nebraska PBS documentary called We Are One, the Omaha People. It was way back in the 80s, I guess. I'm thinking 80s, first part of the 80s. And then 2 years later, they also did another PBS documentary called The Trial of Standing Bear. So we did the first one. They did here, there was casting extras, and it was like, we need Indian people, long hair, can ride a horse. And I said, okay, 2 out of 3, man, I'll apply. Yeah. I didn't know how to ride a horse, but... You know, we didn't grow up with horses.
Yeah.
There was 2 horses in Macy. One of them, his name was Jasper, and I don't know the other one. They were Shetland ponies, and everybody just caught them, and you could ride them. If you caught them, you could ride them, you know. I never did. I never got them, but it was fun. And then after that, we did another movie called The Trial of Standing Bear. And in that particular movie, the main actor, Standing Bear, his name was Ivan Naraho. He was from Hollywood. He was from the big Hollywood. Mm-hmm. He came here to do this project, and especially in one of these scenes, he played Standing Bear, and he's supposed to get up in the courtroom and deliver an eloquent speech, and he couldn't. He was supposed to have a blanket on and an eagle feather fan and something else, and get up out of this chair and give his speech. Unfortunately, he couldn't get out of this chair without dropping things.
Oh, okay.
The blanket would come off his shoulder. He would mishandle the eagle feather fan, and he kind of got frustrated, and he started cursing. In that, he said, "This effing thing won't." I said, "Stop, hold on, time out, sir. I want to tell you, I don't know who you are, but what you're holding in your hands are sacred objects to our people. Mm-hmm. I would appreciate it if you did not use those kind of words while you are handling our religious objects." So if you would like to help, if I can show you how to do that, how to rise from your chair holding these things, and you can go ahead and do your stuff. And so the director, he came over there and he was watching, and I showed him how to do this. And so the director said, "What's your name?" And I told him. He said, "You're standing behind him every scene." And I didn't know that at the time, but they call that screen time. You get your face on the screen all the time. And that's a big thing in Hollywood, which I didn't know. I was just trying to help somebody. I was just trying to be helpful. So after that, there was another project being cast down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was called War Party. It was a Hemdale production out of London, England. They came here, they did this party. It was a thing about the Blackfeet up in Montana. And it was a reenactment. Indians and cavalry having a reenactment. Somewhere along the line, somebody gets drunk and somebody puts real bullets in a gun and somebody gets killed, and so it's a big turmoil. And I got a part in that. I got lucky to get a part in that. We had to audition down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So some of us from Standing Bear went down there to audition, like a dozen of us. And out of that 2,000 people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 3 of us from this area got a call back.
Wow.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, you know. Very 1 in a million type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But the most important thing that I know in my life is if you get an opportunity, take it. Take advantage of it. Somebody tells you, you know, they want you to do something, do the best you can, you know. And I've always lived by that, and especially when we was in the trial of Standing Bear. The director, he says, "Okay, we're gonna go break for lunch. When we come back, we're gonna do the scene with Standing Bear on the wagon." He says, "Does anybody here know how to drive a team of wagons?" And I just raised my hand right away. He says, "Okay, after lunch, we're on you." So everybody broke for lunch. So lunch, I went to the Wranglers. I said, "Can you teach me how to drive this before?" Which I didn't know, but I just volunteered. And again, by volunteering, it put me again in the prestige picture in this movie, you know, because I was with Standing Bear. I was his main man, you know. Yeah. Those kind of things just added up and led to other opportunities. And then Kevin Costner was casting for this movie, Dances with Wolves, and he had looked at all Indian projects in the last 10 years, and the War Party, it hadn't came out yet. It was done, but it just never premiered anywhere. It was still in the works, I guess. So he saw that, and at the time I was living in LA. I went to LA. I moved to LA to try to make my fame and fortune, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
And so I went out there, and I lived in my car. And I slept in my car. I lived in my car, and I walked the streets of Hollywood just trying to figure out how I'm going to make a living. And these are things that you got to find out for yourself. You got to learn. I learned the hard way, but you got to learn, and you got to do these things to try to improve yourself. You know, so that's what I did.
Wow. And what was it like to finally, when you were growing up, like I should rephrase this question here, when you were growing up, did you want to be an actor?
No, I had no idea, you know.
Wow. And then what was it like to get a call from that production, Dances with Wolves? I mean, what was you thinking? Kind of run us through that. How was that?
Okay, what happened was I was in Los Angeles, and then I had this friend. I met this guy. His name was Hane Gigoma. I remember everything. He says, "Hey, Rodney, I got to go to Europe for 3 months." He said, "Can you house sit my house?" I said, "Yeah, I can do that." He said, "All you have to do is answer my messages, write them down. once a week I will call you. You give me my messages, and I'll take care of it. He was a big producer. He did this American Indian Dance Theater.
Yeah.
They went all over the world, and they was in that tour in Europe when he asked me to help him.
Wow.
So I sat at his house, and for me it was really nice because it was free living. It was free rent to sleep in the actual bed, in Hollywood. So I did that, and one of the phone calls that came in was this lady named Elizabeth Lustig, and she said, "Hey, we're casting this movie. I'm working with Kevin Costner. We're doing this movie. We haven't decided if it's going to be in South Dakota or Oklahoma, but we would like to talk to you about it so you can provide us with some Indian actors." So I wrote that number down, and she said, "My name is blah, blah, blah. This is my number," and I wrote it out like I was supposed to do. And so the next day, I called that number, and I said, "Can I speak with Elizabeth Lustig?" And that lady said, "Yeah, who is this?" And I told her my name. She said, "Okay." So Elizabeth got on the phone, and she says, "What is your name?" I said, "Rodney Grant." She says, "Were you in a movie called War Party?" I said, "Yes, I was." She says, "We're looking for you." I said, "No way. No way. How could that happen?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, well, I'm from Nebraska. If you're going to do it in South Dakota, I know a lot of people in South Dakota. I'd like to work on your project as a locations, helping you out there because I can get you people there." She said, "Well, we want to talk to you first. You come down and talk to us first." So she gave me we talked, and she gave me a script, and she said, "You played this crow tracker in War Party." I said, "Yeah, that was me." She says, "You have something that we want to talk to you about." So, that's the screen presence that we're talking about, which I didn't understand at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's how things got started. And I read the script. She said, "We're going casting. We're going to go to Oklahoma and South Dakota. We're going to figure out where we're going to do this movie at. So when we come back, then we're going to sit and we're going to talk to you." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." 2 weeks goes by. She calls me and come in. And then she says, "Kevin Costner wants to talk to you." I said, "No way." What do you say to... Kevin Costner was a huge Hollywood star.
Right.
What do you say to somebody like this? It's like meeting the King of England. What do you say?
Yeah.
So you got to be on your best behavior, so to speak, And it was interesting. That's how I got started in the business.
Wow.
But the biggest thing that I got started in the business is I left my home. I left Macy. I left Nebraska. I left the Midwest. And I went someplace outside the box, so far outside the box that I had to sleep in a box in order to survive. And every day I would get up and I would go to these moving companies and I would say, "You got to work, you got to work. You have to hustle. You got to hustle. Nothing is given to you in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, in the big city of Los Angeles. You have to make your moves. You got to do your hustle. You got to get your hustle on. You got to get a hustle game going, because if I didn't have an education, I barely graduated from high school. I don't have a college degree. I don't have an uncle in the business. All I have is 2 hands, my strong back, and I'm willing to want to make it. That's all I had.
Wow. That is good encouragement, good words. A lot of the young people, we have what we call the big voicers. They tune in, and man, this is an awesome interview. You have any questions, Bethany, for him?
With all of the projects that you were able to work on, what would you say was your favorite? So, I guess 2 parts. Which one was your favorite, and which one did you have the most fun with?
They both have to be Dances with Wolves. It was my favorite because it was my first biggest movie that I've ever done in my life. It didn't pay me a whole lot, but at the same time, it was a way to get my foot in the door, so to speak. And I'm going to tell you, I left a big footprint from that movie to the point where they considered me up for an Academy Award for my performance in that movie.
Damn.
Unfortunately, that was my second biggest role, and they just felt like I didn't have enough experience in the movie industry to garner an attention like that. So instead of nominating me, they nominated Graham Greene because he was a bigger name than I was. And I didn't know that, but at the same time, Grant Green is a very talented actor from Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Good question there. I know that nowadays, what are you doing these days? And are you kind of going around and encouraging the next generation of actors? Or are you still doing movies? Let's talk about that a little bit.
I do movies once in a great while. Somebody has to come up to me and says, Rodney, we want you in this movie. We're going to pay you this amount of money, and you have to do this amount of work. That's it. If it's worth it, I would do it. I did one 2 years ago in Santa Fe. The guy came up and said, I need some help. The guy that I wanted to play the role, he's unavailable. Can you just volunteer? Can you help? I said, I can't volunteer, but if you want to pay me, I'll be happy to do that for you. So he says, okay, how much you want? And I told him, and he says, well, okay, we'll do it. So, and then a lot of people will come and say, we're doing this movie, they're casting here. I don't do casting anymore. Casting is a cattle call where you get in line with everybody else. I think I'm beyond that, and I don't want to be conceited, but my record speaks for itself. And if you look at my resume, you will see some of the things that I've done, and they are really high-profile projects that I've done. So that my record speaks for itself, and that's how. Right before I quit, at the end, I commanded a lot of money, big monies. People would say, "Can you do this?" And I said, "This is what it takes." And okay. So that's how I work. So I broke the ceiling, so to speak, for Indian actors to get into the movie business. And everybody wants to be an actor, but nobody wants to do the work. It takes a lot of work. Nobody wants to go to school, acting school. Nobody wants to leave their home to go struggle in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in New York, wherever it's at. Everybody wants it handed to them. They don't realize that it doesn't work that way. If you want something, you got to go get it. And that's what I've been trying to tell people in the last 10, 15 years is trying to mentor them. And I tell them, I said, what? I was so broke when I grew up. I couldn't even afford parents. And I was an orphan, but at the same time, I lived on the streets, wherever I could get. And so if I can do this without having parents, just think what you can do with your mother and father behind you, with your grandma and grandpa behind you, with your brothers and sisters behind you, and that's what I tell people.
Yeah. I want to share a story that I remember. I forgot what age I was, but I know that my dad used to talk to, and actually, I think you guys did some boxing together. Curtis St. Cyr. And one time we were sitting at home, it was just a regular night. Get a knock on the door, and Dance with the Wolves came out. It was huge. It was in theaters, and it was just all over newspapers. They were showing premieres and all this and that. We opened the door, and Rodney Grant is standing there at our house. And he come to say hello to the family. And it was just like, wow, we couldn't believe it. My sister, I got an older sister. She had a friend over, and they were just like, no way. You know what I mean? And you came and visited and talked about old times and everything. That was one of the memories I have of you. Of course, growing up, seeing you on big screens and movies and everything too. I know that you. What would you say? How many movies have you kind of played in?
About a dozen movies. They were all high-profile movies.
Yeah.
Geronimo, Dances with the Wolves, Wild Wild West with Will Smith.
Awesome. Yeah.
I did a TV series up in Canada called Hawkeye with Lee Horsley and Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Dang, that's
awesome.
Son of the Morning Star. I remember you played Crazy Horse as well. I remember that exactly and stuff. One of the things that we kind of noticed here is that, in Dance with Wolves, you have long hair. Here today, you have you don't have long hair and stuff. Kind of maybe tell us about why you cut your hair.
I cut my hair because I don't want to look like an elder, even though I am. Let me explain that a little bit. You know, when we got long hair, when you get to a certain age, and for me it was like 55, and I noticed whenever I comb my hair in the morning, my brush was full of hair, and then I'd look on my floor behind me, and a lot of my hair was on the floor, and I struggled with that, and evidently at a certain age, your teeth go, your looks go, your hair goes, you get these things called wrinkles, you know. And my hair seems to me was falling out. So I looked around at different people, and when you look at an older man that has long hair, if you notice, their hair gets thin on the side. They get thin, and then you can almost see their scalp, you know. And so I didn't want to look like an old elder. That's why I cut my hair, and I put it up in a Marine Corps flat top, and it looks full. It looks healthy. It looks good, you know. So, and that's what I try to keep myself looking good, you know.
Definitely. He came down for the dedication of Big Elk's sculpture down in Omaha. And I kind of talked to him a little bit. And you mentioned something to me saying that make sure you live your life, because none of us are getting out of here alive. You know what I mean? And kind of explain that, what you're kind of talking about.
Well, that one is today in our society, so many people are negative about life, about you guys, about me, about other people. People just have this sad sack mentality that they got to try to be negative and put everybody down. What I try to tell people is, you know what, forget about that. Don't even worry about that. Live your life. Do whatever you think that makes you happy, whatever it is. Buy a new car, buy a motorcycle, travel the world. Do whatever it takes to make you happy, because, again, like you said, we have one life to live, and once this life is over, all we're going to have left is people are going to say, I remember him. I remember him, he did this. Or I remember him, he was just such a SOB, you know. So how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered fondly? Or do you want people to be cursing when they mention your name? How do you want to do that? So you have to go around and say, okay, this is how I want to be. This is the legacy that I want to leave. This is how I want people to remember me. And that's why I spent so many years just traveling different states, different reservations, different communities, talking to young people, saying, come on, you can do it. You can do it. If I can do it, guess what you can do, you know? I broke the ground, and now it's time for other people to pick it up.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes, yes. I think that's a lot that we have. Another thing, too, is I know growing up in the powwow arena, Daryl Grant, your brother, was instrumental. We used to go around and sing, and he has since passed and everything, but he had a big impact on my life. And just the things that he taught me, you know, sitting around the drum, sharing, teasing, just having a good time around the drum and stuff is a good, you know what I mean? So we appreciate you sitting down with us. Thanking you for taking the time out. And yep.
Okay, one more thing I want to tell you. Whenever I come back to this area, our homeland, I sit and I try to visit with people that I grew up with. Your father was one of them. When we was in high school, junior high, we fought in the Golden Gloves. He and I were always in the same weight class. I never beat him once, but we fought like 4 or 5 times in different arenas. But I never disrespected him. I never disrespected that. I never held that against him. I always was nice to him. I always wanted to be his friend. And we went to school together at summer programs, Upper Bound together. We did that. That's when they put the Omahas and the Winnebagos together. So, and whenever I come back here, I come to Winnebago first, believe it or not. Today, I golf with Hane Hainaga, and another guy up there, Sam Prue.
Oh, yeah.
So I always call Hannah at the time and say, you wanna golf on Friday? You got time? And so that's how we make time for everybody. And I try to go visit my relatives down in Macy when I come back. And some of them aren't doing so well, but I still try to encourage them.
Yeah. Good words, good words. We have a presentation that Besame is going to do here, and we would be honored and proud if you, we want to give you a shirt, a Big Voice t-shirt, just for stopping in on a whim, you know what I mean, and making time for us. And we have some people come through here, and like I said, you're probably the most famous person that came through our doors and on the air. So we really appreciate you, Mr. Rodney Grant, in the studio, and we look forward to kind of seeing the career blossom and those people the lives that you touch, whoever you talk to, those are good words, and we're excited to share that with the people and stuff. Final thoughts?
Thank you for stopping by the Big Voice Studio. So something that I wanted to kind of bring up before we conclude is that we're actually in the project of bringing a film festival with the Vision Media Maker. And one of the things that we were kind of hoping is when they roll out the film festival, it's with different native film makers and screenwriters and things like that. But we'll have an event this fall for that, and we have a big screen here in town. Maybe we could collaborate with you on something like that, because it'll be a big community event too.
I'll be open to that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I always try to do whatever I can for Winnebago and Macy to try to bring awareness, to try to help bring more things for everybody here. I always try to spread goodwill all the time, no matter what it is. So I'm willing and open for that.
Awesome. All right.
Good words here. Great interview. Thank you for joining us here on the Big Voice Radio 100.9 FM. DJ Besame, DJ Guaranteed, and Rodney A. Grant. Thank you, guys.